to the Money RX for CRNAs podcast, where you go behind the scenes with host Brett Fellows, CFP, as he explores the unique opportunities and challenges facing certified registered nurse anesthetists along the path to financial independence. In each episode, Brett shares expert insights and actionable advice, equipping you with the tools you need to take control of your financial destiny and retire on your terms. And now, here's your host, Brett Fellows.
Welcome to the Money RX for CRNAs podcast. I'm your host, Brett Fellows, and today I'm excited to introduce a CRNA who has built an impressive personal brand. Dr. Jason Bolt is a certified registered nurse anesthetist and uses his expertise to mentor aspiring CRNAs looking to tackle the challenging admissions process. With a doctorate of nursing practice in anesthesiology, he has created an audience of over 17,000 followers on Instagram and 20,000 YouTube subscribers. He owns his own private practice, Bolt Nursing Anesthesiology, in the Bay Area in California, and he is known for seeing the humor in the profession and brings a lot into his content. And with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Jason Bolt to the podcast. Jason, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Brett. Good to see you. Thank you.
As we were just talking about, I'm really excited to have you on. You've got such an incredible following and audience, but obviously it didn't start there. So I'd love to kick off. I'm just curious about what drew you to becoming a CRNA in the first place. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So funny enough, I think a lot of us who became CRNAs either didn't realize what a CRNA was at one time when we were younger, or we thought we would be something else in the medical field and pivoted. In my situation, I never knew about CRNAs. I thought you could be a nurse or you could be a physician. And so I was pre-med actually. And then I decided that I didn't want my undergrad to be in pre-med because I thought it was useless, a useless degree that spent a lot of time without training you in any kind of specific skill. So I thought nursing makes the most sense to do first. Get your bachelor's of science in nursing, get your hands on patients, learn things, and then after nursing school, transition to med school a couple years later.
Sure.
And while I was in nursing school, I did a rotation in a surgery center where I met a CRNA for the first time. I realized what they were and what they did, and I was enamored with it. I thought it was like magic to see them do a nerve block for somebody and then put someone to sleep for surgery and be with them through the whole case. And I recognized how the surgeons respected them and the rest of the team all looked up to them, how they kind of where it was at the head of the bed, kind of orchestrating everything and keeping everything focused on the patient and appropriate. And I thought, you know what? That's exactly what I want to do. That's what I want to focus on my future. And so I pivoted and I've been headed this way ever since.
That's great. And after nursing school, where did you go to nursing school?
I went to Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama.
Yeah.
I grew up in Tennessee and Alabama.
Okay, great. And then you did, I know enough, you did a little stint of some travel nurse after college. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? That seemed pretty cool.
Travel nursing is great. I highly recommend it for anybody who's a nurse, especially if you're looking to go to grad school or get extra experience. What I did first, you have to do a couple years of staff nursing experience if you're a new grad, because you have to get experience in your field, get confident in what you're doing, know how to manage different situations. Because then when you go travel nursing, you're pretty much contract nursing, you're a contractor, and you're expected to hit the ground running from day one. So after my 2 years of ICU experience as a staff nurse, I went travel nursing so that I could see the world, make more money, that you get paid better, you control your schedule more. It's a lot more independence, and it's also just fun. When you're in your 20s and you're getting ready to go back to grad school and you know you're going to chain yourself to a desk for 3 years without much fun. You want to do something where you get to go out and see the world. And so that's what travel nursing was for me.
Sure. And you're not joking. You went to, can you list like a handful of places that you went, different states? And then you also did really cool. You did something different in almost every state in terms of learned a new skill. Is that fair?
That is exactly what I did. That was my plan, was I wanted to see a new place. I wanted to go somewhere new every 3 months or so. and I wanted to try something new, a challenge every place I went.
Yeah.
So I went to Connecticut, where I did Kung Fu for 3 months. I wasn't very good at it. I was just doing it,
Yeah.
learning it.
Yeah.
And then I went to Atlanta and I dipped my toes into some skydiving. I did windsurfing in Texas. I did hang gliding in the Bay Area, San Francisco. I got into mountain hiking when I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, up near the Smoky Mountains.
Sure.
And then, I did some like regular surfing when I was in SoCal. So,
That's
yeah.
great. Good for you. When you think back on those days, Jason, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had in nursing school and then CRNA school, um, financial or otherwise, if as you look back on that time?
Finances is always a huge aspect. I think a lot of people who go into nursing, they don't come from wealth typically. Nursing is a field that you can get into that pays you well, and you have a guaranteed job in most economy situations. And it doesn't take you 8 to 10 years to become an RN. So it's one of those things that usually does attract people who are interested in making money and being financially stable. And that was me. I grew up in a family that was very middle class. We didn't have a lot of money. And so I knew, like I mentioned earlier, I was thinking pre-med is a waste of time. You're going to spend 4 years in school and
Yeah.
have no real skills. You can make no real money with this. You can work at Starbucks as a barista with that degree.
Mhm.
So I was like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to do nursing because I definitely was focused on doing something where I could afford to live, I could get by, while also making a difference in the world. So yeah, I think I think that's a great aspect about nursing is if you're looking for a career that can pay you really well and get you on the ground floor of something where you have a guaranteed job with your skills, that's something you can do as an RN. You're going to make great money. You're going to be able to become financially free if you budget properly and you do the right things. And you're always going to have a job. So I think that's something that drew me into nursing as well. And I'm really proud of that with our career.
And I will give you credit too. You have, I don't know if you remember this, you have a post from a year or so ago. You do talk about money a good bit. Your habits, your money habits are fantastic. You claim you're not a financial advisor, but you do a pretty good job. Can you talk about some of your money habits that if you remember from some of those posts that you did?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it started from when I was a teenager and just knew if I had a dollar and I spent it, I no longer had that dollar. So I learned pretty fast, stop spending money because that's the
Uh-huh.
fastest way to make money is to stop spending it. So I was the 18-year-old who like had money squirrel hundreds of dollars squirreled
Okay.
away and that didn't spend. So that was my starting of my basic financial habits. From there, you actually learn how to truly do things like invest and 401ks and
Mm.
Roth IRAs and other types of ways to grow wealth. But yeah, my focus has always been on financial freedom. As much as I love, helping people and being there for people, I also like my time being valued and my time being paid for in a way where I know that I can be free. At this point in my life, I would say I'm fairly financially free. I have no debt. I paid off all my student loans. I like to talk about those topics because a lot of people get into these career fields to help people, and that's great. I like helping people too, but then they make a lot of mistakes with finances, and then they find themselves kind of bound up working 50, 60 hours a week until they're 68, 70 years old to pay for all of these expenses and all these bills that they have and student loans that they never fully paid off, and they just get trapped in this kind of cycle that to me sounds like bondage.
Mhm.
And so I would like for people not to be living like that. And so I do like to talk about it because I don't live like that and I don't want other people to have to live like that.
And where do you think that came from? Was it from experience growing up with your parents with money? Do you feel like it was the career choice that allowed you to do that? Would that same mindset have applied if you did become a doctor?
Yeah, I would have done that whether I was like a librarian or
Okay.
whatever. I would have been that way mostly because my both my parents are pretty bad with money and
Yeah.
honestly still are. So I learned at a young age, like as a teenager, I'm not going to do what you guys are doing, like how you're mismanaging and also they went through a divorce that was messy and
Sure.
that tied up a lot of money too. So we grew up in an environment knowing financial insecurity and understanding and witnessing just how life can be difficult if you don't manage things properly.
Yeah.
You can give someone $1 million, and if they don't don't know how to manage it or what to do with it, they're going to be poor in 5 years. So I witnessed that as a younger person, and I realized that's not going to be me. And so it's great that we have careers that enable us to be able to
Sure.
not live like that.
Sure. Go back to your mentioning about how you like helping others. Way back when you were going through your own CRNA admissions process, did you ever think that you'd be on the other side of the table helping others get into CRNA school?
No, not really, actually. I was doing YouTube even back then. I was creating YouTube videos way back in like 2014, 2015 when I was a travel nurse. But
Okay.
the reason I was doing it back then, if you scroll way back on my YouTube channel to really old, 10-year-old videos, they're essentially me vlogging my life through travel nursing. So I just got inspired by all the other YouTubers I saw back then, just vlogging and doing very
Hmm.
just face to camera, just experiences. It's very unpolished. It's not very interesting to
Okay.
watch. It's very cringy when I even look back on it now. It's not very helpful, but it got me in the habit of just filming and recording. And then when I got into CRNA school, the idea was, well, I'm gonna obviously shut this channel down and stop doing this because this was a fun side hobby. I'm not doing any of these fun things anymore. I'm now going to be sitting at a desk for the next 3 years. And so as I was preparing to shut it down, I thought, well, I'll do one video that's like 5 top things that help you get into CRNA school or something informative. Because I thought that's something I wish I had seen because there was no one back then in 2014, 2015 on YouTube who were CRNAs who were
Right.
talking about it. You couldn't find any information besides some like allnurses.com forums and like written text somewhere. So I thought I'm gonna do like one quick video. So I did that video and it got so much like and interaction and so much engagement. And I thought, well, maybe there's something here. Maybe I could, just create a couple more videos. And so I did a couple more videos and I continued to get traction. And I realized maybe this is something I could try and juggle throughout school and help people out and just kind of talk about things as I went along. And it's just continued on organically since then.
Yeah, that's great. And how do fast forward to today, how do you stay motivated to keep creating such good content while working as a CRNA at the same time?
It has to change like over a decade of time, 10 years of time. You change, your life situation changes, the point that you're at in your development and what you're talking about has to change. And there have been times where I pared back some and I didn't create as much content. I've never fully just stopped creating content, but there are times where I'll do little more funny skits. Like during the pandemic, I was
Yeah.
doing a little bit more like goofy, funny, like wigs and like funny stuff like that. A lot of people were doing that then, and I morphed into more of that content. And if you don't learn how to creatively find things that make you interested and engaged, it becomes a job and it becomes tedious and it's not something you enjoy anymore. And I always promise myself never to just do it to be a creator or an influencer, but always to do it because I enjoy it. It's a creative outlet and I enjoy connecting with people. So that's the way that I keep doing it today is I keep kind of reinventing myself and reformatting the way that I'm presenting things so that I'm always staying fresh and staying interested.
Yeah. You're talking about when you were in school or going to school in 2013 and just how much things change over time. You've got a really unique view of the CRNA education market from where you sit and what you do. What trends are you seeing that might be different today?
On the education of CRNAs?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it's becoming increasingly more competitive. It's been competitive for a few decades. It was very competitive when I was applying to schools in 2013, 14, 15, like getting my application together back then. But I would say it's even more so now, and partly my fault, as well as other social media CRNAs from the last 10 years that have come through the woodworks, and we're online, we're talking about us. What used to be the best kept secret in healthcare is not that great of a kept secret anymore. It's a lot more known,
Okay.
and which is great. We like that it's more known, but it does make it more difficult to get in the field because you have more people wanting to become
Sure.
CRNAs.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that is something that I've definitely seen a big shift and change on is the just competitiveness to even get
Mhm.
into school.
Yeah. And you started your own practice, Bolt Nurse Anesthesiology, I think in 2022. Is that right?
Yeah.
What made you decide to take that leap?
Well, my father was a business owner and an entrepreneur. I grew up with that kind of mentality of like salespeople eat what you kill kind of
Yeah.
thing, and very independent behavior. My father's behavior and mentality is very independent, and mine happens to be the same way, somewhat to a fault, where it is difficult for me to work under a big administrative bureaucratic system of a slow moving machine, being a cog in a wheel. That's never been a way that I enjoy working. And I always find that my personal satisfaction and long-term goals of happiness revolve more around a free kind of schedule and the ability to create my own days that I'm available, days I'm not available, my, you know, rate, my
Mm-hmm.
rate that I'm paid at, it doesn't become based on a 3% algorithmic pay salary scale every year. If someone decides you get it or not, it's you negotiated this business, you're worth this value, you have, agreed upon this, and that's what you're now being paid.
Yeah.
So I'm much more that style of worker. And if I want to go to Italy for 3 weeks and I want to do it in next month, I don't want to ask someone permission who's then going to tell me no.
Yeah.
I'm 37 now, and I've worked a long time to get to where I'm at in my life and career, and I want to go to Italy for 3 weeks if I want to
Mhm.
go, and so I'm
Yeah.
going to go.
Yeah.
So especially the pandemic spurred that on in me, the realization of life is short, people die, terrible tragedies happen, we can go into lockdown suddenly, the whole world can shift and change.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't learn how to live for today and know like what your life, what really fills your cup and makes you feel joy, if you don't know what that is, you should really investigate, figure that out, and then go for it full force. Even
Right.
if it means owning your own business and putting up money up front and some of the scarier aspects of being having an S corp
Mm-hmm.
and some of the more riskier elements of that, to me, it's worth it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, some of the things you said, even, the reason why a lot don't go independent is there's a lot of risk, financial risk to go independent. Back to your money habits, how did you prepare for that financially? Had you saved enough going in where you knew you were going to be okay? Um, yeah, I'd love to hear just a little bit about that.
Sure. So I made sure to I worked staff as a W-2 for
Mhm.
about 2.5 years before I went out. Part of that is good to teach yourself clinical ability to be very confident in what you know. Even though you go through really rigorous training in CRNA school, there are times where patients will react in ways that they're not supposed to react. They didn't read the textbook on the way that you give a certain med and their body does a certain thing. They do something completely differently. And so you learn things in the first couple years out of school that really teach you how to be the safest and best CRNA and anesthesia provider you can be. So then I felt like comfortably, clinically, I could manage whatever came my way on my
Gotcha.
own independently. But secondarily, the financial aspect is also really important. You want to be set up financially that you know that if they cancel your contract, that a 1099 agreement or
Mhm.
something comes up that's a burden for you, taxes that may come in estimated, which is a regular thing even till to this day to me,
Yes.
where
Yeah.
suddenly like the IRS is like, guess
Yep.
what? We calculated
June
that you actually
15th
owe
was 2 days
more.
ago.
Yeah, exactly. I just paid my estimated taxes, and it's huge, thousands and thousands of dollars in lump sums. You have to pay them. So things like that is something you have to be ready for. You need to have money set aside, and I recommend don't be in debt. Like if you can have your student loans paid off and you can have your car paid off and maybe even your house or not even own a house, maybe just rent, whatever you need to do so that you're not in a major situation where you're owing money all the time and money is coming out every month from you and you can't
Mhm.
control that.
Yeah.
Try and avoid that. And so I did. I had everything paid off. I owed no debt.
Mm.
Everything was mine that I owned, and I could live below my a means at a very low level. So, and I had like 50,000 set aside in a savings
Nice.
account on top of
Cool.
that, just as a nest egg. And of course, you want an emergency fund and all those 101 financial advisor
Hmm.
tips of like the basics. You
Yep.
want all of that set up and ready to go so that you know, like, if when you step out into this new chapter, you're okay.
Yep. Did you go as a sole proprietor for a few years? You mentioned S Corp. Are you an S Corp now?
I mean, I was an S corp from the beginning because
Right from the
in
beginning. Good for you.
California, there's a strange law that states that not just CRNAs, but I think everyone besides physicians and maybe dentists, need to be an S corp instead of a professional LLC in order to legally be, I
I
don't
did
know, an
not know
independent
that about
business. Yeah.
California.
It's
Okay.
a, it's a weird caveat. It has something to do with the Uber drivers years ago
Okay.
who had some kind of rule passed that like their insurance had to be covered, something like that. And we
Right.
were collateral damage in
Right.
that, but
Right.
that's fine. Just open an S corp instead of an LLC.
What has been a mistake or a learning experience for you as an entrepreneur?
Um, Learning experience, so many actually. And it's funny because I'm big on research and I spent time, I knew I would be going independent and doing my own thing when I graduated school. I knew it was
Yeah.
coming. It was coming in a couple years. So I had been spending time researching and talking to other people. But it's funny how you can talk to other people and learn from their, perspectives, and you're still going to make mistakes. Most of it was in forms of like taxes or like loophole, like things that I know nothing about. And I rely on my CPA to assist me in that. And I've actually gone through like one or two CPAs because
Okay.
surprisingly it can be difficult to
Yes.
find a
Yes.
CPA that's reliable and also understands your market and what a CRNA is and what they do and what
Mhm.
kind of, the aspects, the nuances of your career. Um, but yeah, so just communicating with them, understanding like, so how much taxes are owed and which side is on my personal side to the IRS, which side is on my business side to the IRS, payroll, like what all these terms mean. A lot of that is still sometimes a little bit fuzzy for me. I have to like remind myself of
Yep.
like all the special details. And the problem is if you get it wrong, you suddenly like owe thousands of dollars in penalties and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
it's a mistake you don't want to make. You want to understand the schedules of all the payments of everything and how you do your taxes. So I recommend early on getting yourself a good CPA that you can connect in with, that understands your career, that works with other CRNAs, and really dialogue clearly with them. Like, I don't know what's happening here. Please, like, explain it like a fifth grader to me.
Yes. Yep.
And then I will write it down, and I'm probably going to ask you again in 3 months about this detail. But just ask those questions and don't assume, because if you assume it,
Yeah.
what they say
Yeah.
makes an
They
ass out
said,
of you
yeah.
and me.
Yes.
So, and it will happen.
Yes. Love it. One of the other things I'm fascinated by is just how people manage their time. And you talk a lot about time, and you've talked about even today, just, if I want to go to Italy, I want to go to Italy. So what does a typical week look like for you? So you've got content creation, you've got your CRNA practice, you've got your maybe mock interviews that you might be doing. How do you balance all that?
I try and do surgery center work local in the area, and I like to do three, what in general is considered 8-hour days, but surgery you can never truly plan for. So
Mhm.
sometimes, I might go in at 7:30 and we might leave by 3. That's great. If I stay till 4, 5, sometimes 8 p.m. I've stayed recently that happened. Things go sideways. Sometimes I leave at 1 o'clock, but anyway, that's what I mean to say. I work 3 days a week, and they should be 8-hour roughly days, but they fluctuate in high amounts on what actual time I'm there. But I just do those 3 days a week, and very rarely I'll pick up a fourth day, but usually 2 other days during the week. I will work from home. I'll do mock interviews for people who are trying to get into CRNA school. I will do social media content creation. I'll be working on my nurse anesthesia pages or my YouTube channels or something like that. And also running errands and just getting life stuff done. That's a huge thing that people, don't focus on as much is when are you, if you work 5 days a week stuck in a hospital or a clinical setting, 9 to 5 or something like that, when are you getting your dental, like
Mhm.
your teeth cleaning? When are you getting like doctor's visit? When are you going to the gym? Like, when are you getting things done just for you? And I mean, people have kids and all kinds of other things they have to juggle. I just manage me, and I don't know how I would do that if I was there 5 days a week. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do those on the days when I have, my 2 days of social media flexible stuff.
For you. Good for you. When you think about the future, Jason, where do you see your business headed in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, as far as anesthesia goes, I'm actually moving from the Bay Area to LA
Okay,
next
cool.
month. So I'll be in LA, and
Oh,
there
great.
a lot of needs there. I've
Good.
I've been I've been getting messages for a couple years now asking me to like come down there temporarily just for a few days to cover centers. And there's a lot of private pay and a lot of Beverly Hills and places like that that just need a lot of surgical work. So I'll be down there doing some work probably in the next 5 years. And then on my personal side, with like my social media stuff, I hope to still be creating content. Hopefully my content reflects my current life and what's going on with me at that time period, but is also helpful for other people. Usually people like content that is, funny and
Mhm.
informative, also gives them an inside view of what your lifestyle is like as a CRNA, and maybe even some content that helps get them maybe into school and some
Yeah.
behind the scenes view of what a CRNA looks like.
Have you been asked to speak? Do you speak to associations, or even colleges, nursing schools, or
I
CRNA schools?
Yeah, I have not so much recently, but there was a time where I was taking a lot of appointments for like virtual, especially during the pandemic. I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of nursing programs and a lot of schools are reaching out and asking for people to speak because
Yeah.
I guess everyone was hearing about CRNAs more often, more people were online, more on social
Yeah.
media, so it was getting really big. And I used to do a lot more work with the AANA. I used to be on the communications committee. I was even
Sure.
on the California Association of Nurse Anesthetists board for a year.
Good for you.
But I found that a lot of those things that I actually said yes to so much at that
Hmm.
time period of my life, it kind of burnt me out because you're spreading yourself so
Yeah.
thin that you're even your personal life stuff like
Yeah.
my partner and spending time with him
Yeah.
and my dog and going to Italy for 3 weeks, like things that I want to do that I really need to prioritize. I didn't have the time or ability to do, or if I did it, I felt really stressed. So I pared back a lot on that so that I'm not really saying yes to so many things that I've stretched myself too
Yeah.
thin.
Yeah. Like the other saying goes, you start talking about assuming, well, this is, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So it makes
Sure.
complete sense.
It is true.
Jason, I'm curious, has AI impacted the CRNA profession much?
It's not in the way that people might imagine. It's AI is not kind of like taking our job so that we're like not needed in anesthesia
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And now there's an AI machine in charge of your anesthetic. But I do see it augmenting things. It's not necessarily been woven into the workplace specifically yet,
Okay.
but me personally, I use it often now, like ChatGPT. I use it often
Yeah.
for a lot of things, and there are times where I might even type in like tell me just curiosity wise, I'll say like tell me an anesthetic plan for a patient with myasthenia
Hmm.
gravis, just to kind
Hmm.
of test it to see does it know what I would do or what I should do, and it gives a pretty good answer.
Yeah.
And so I do see it being used more often as like an aid to assist us in doing our work, to speed things up, to create safer anesthetics and plans, and to even just be a reference point for people so that
Sure.
you can quickly double check things or bizarre diseases. But is it like how people have the fear of other tech jobs and stuff where it's just like isolated out that position and you no longer are needed? No, because it's a robot or a software system, and it's not going to be able to manage your airways. It is not going to be able to safely like keep you anesthetically, under. And I don't think there's any time in the near decades where another human is going to say, I want a robot in charge of if I live or
Mhm.
die today.
Yeah.
They're probably going to say, I would want a human instead, maybe with the assistance of the robot, but I don't want just the robot that might go on the fritz or get powered down and I die because of that.
Of
So
course. Of course. Back to you, thinking about the future, and you're still so young, but you're moving to LA, and I'm just curious, like, do you have different retirement goals or financial independence goals that differ from a traditional CRNA path?
I think so, just because since probably 2022, 2023, I refer to myself as semi-retired
Yeah, I
already.
saw that. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what that
Yeah.
meant.
So
Okay.
I already say that I'm semi-retired, and other people seem to think the same thing who work with me. Because I just work 3/8 a week typically, and that's my full time. And then of course I do social media stuff and I do other things on the side, but that's my creative stuff, that's my fun stuff. So I like to call it currently semi-retired, and I would like to stay in this position for, I don't know, 50 years, 60 years from now,
Okay.
I would be happy to just continue this pattern. I love what I do creatively, but also anesthesia wise. And I'm not really looking forward to a time where I don't have to do anesthesia anymore because I
Yeah.
enjoy it. I like it and I like doing it. It's nice to know when you don't have to go in. Like if you want to go to Italy for 3 weeks, for example, you don't have to go to work.
Right.
You can take that time off. And I'm kind of already there. And I plan to continue that pattern for as long as I want.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um, for CRNAs listening who might feel stuck in their traditional employment path and just kind of unsure about their financial future, what would you tell them about taking control of their career and their own financial destiny like you have?
Yeah, I mean, you have to identify what you want, like what works for you and what does your future look like. For me, I have a partner. We both have good jobs. We don't have kids. We don't really plan on having kids. We have a beagle, which is like my big financial commitment.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot easier for me in my situation. And this is the one that I plan for the future. I can plan for us. And what is that? What do finances look like for us? And both financially free, no debt. He also has no student loans or any of that stuff. All that's paid for. So in our situation, we can look forward to the future and say, okay, these are our goals and this is how we get there. And it's not going to be that difficult for us to continue on this pattern. If you have 4 kids and 2 ex-wives and your alimony payments and all this other kind of stuff, people have different life situations. So in those situations, you have a very different, perspective on what you need to be doing. I recommend probably trying to simplify your life, guys, especially younger people. If you're 18, 19, 20, look to the future. Don't do all that crazy stuff if you don't, unless you're looking for that path. But try and simplify your life. But also, if your life's complicated, then your financial goals and your future is going to look different. Maybe you aren't going to be able to do 3 8-hour days a week, and maybe you need to plan for more. But yeah, for me, I feel like I very purposefully, when I was 18, 19, 20, I looked forward to the future and I said, that's the future I want, the one that I currently have. I knew back then this is what I wanted. And I was like, I'm not messing around. No running around drinking. When I was 21, I had one cocktail and I was like, all right, here's my one cocktail. Let's go home. We got nursing school classes to study for. Like, what
Yeah.
are we playing around? So
Yeah.
I was like, I planned for it then and so that I could have it now. And yeah, so was that your question? Did I answer?
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. So
Good.
I'll finish with this. This is another one of my favorites. I'm sure you're going to answer this really well. You're very introspective. This podcast is about successful people in the CRNA community, both financially or professionally, or personally. But what I've learned is that success means different things to different people. So I'd be curious to know, Jason, to finish us off. What does success look like to you?
I think success can look like any career that you want to have, whether it is like my younger brother, he's 18 right now or 17, and he's planning for his future, and he wants to be a welder right now. That's his thing. He at one time wanted to be a CRNA, but now it's switched to welder, and
Okay.
then sometimes it's police officer. But either way, whatever success, I tell him this. I think success for you is if you want to be a police officer or you want to be a welder, then go do that. Like enjoy it, do it to the best of your ability, find fulfillment in that role. Yes, the salaries will all look different between a CRNA or a welder or a police officer or whatever you pick. The salary and income is different, but you can be completely comfortable and happy if you manage your money well and you save up and you do the right thing. And you don't make foolish decisions. And so I feel like that is what success is for me. It's being fulfilled in your career, whatever it is, and also being financially stable and free so that you can go home every day and know all of your basic needs are met and even some of the wants that you may have are met. And that's as much as you can really ask for. There's only so much money. I read an article a few years ago about how much money you people can earn before there's like diminishing returns on the
Mhm.
joy,
Mhm.
and beyond a certain point. It was somewhere around the 70s or 80,000 a year, something like that. They
Mhm.
said beyond that amount, you really have enough money that you can meet all of your basic needs and even
Right.
most of your wants. And beyond that, really, if you're not happy, you're just not going to be happy
Yep.
internally. And
Yep.
so I feel that way strongly. And so I want people to find success by whatever they're doing, enjoy it, and then manage your money well so that you can be happy and feel successful.
Love it. As I said, you did a perfect job. Thank you for sharing that. And thank
Yeah,
you, Jason Bolt, for being on this episode of the Money RX for CRNA's podcast.
it's been a pleasure, Brett. It's great talking to you.
Thank you. You too.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast does not engage in rendering legal, financial, or other professional services.